Hi, I'm Arvind Nadig, and I run a company called Li2, and we run a design studio called Brahma 3. So, we started Li2 about 10 years ago in 2008 with the vision to kind of bring practical learning among students. So, when we were in school, we had this issue where we didn't know why we are doing things. So, in Li2, we kind of bring emerging technologies to students and get them to build it hands on. And Brahma 3 is a design studio which we started in 2013. It was kind of a serendipity that we were excited about 3D printers, and we just landed up building one, and it happened to become one of the first indigenous machines from India. So today we design, manufacture these printers. Brahma was interesting because me and my co-founder Nikhil, we was kind of sitting down and thinking, why don't we bring 3D printers to India, and why don't we have some exciting training programs that we do for students. But then printers were very expensive, so that's how we thought we'll build an open source machine. And when we put that together, we realized that we can do more. And then in a span of 6 months, we had one of the best teams that we could assemble, and we were able to launch this printer, and we happened to become the first printer. And the story has been not so flashy and nice. It's been difficult because as a product company, early stage, before awareness is created in the market. So we're still figuring it out, but as a legacy company, now we work with a lot of corporates who are interested to work with us in terms of taking their processes to 3D printing from conventional processes. So that's good. Li2 is a much more thought effort where personally I'm passionate about education per se, and more of reaching out people and making an impact. So the best way to do that is through hands-on learning, right? Whatever we learn hands-on, we remember. So we very consciously chose robotics because robotics is exciting. Even today, people jump up when we say robots. And so we use robotics to teach science, math, IoT, embedded systems, or anything that's emerging. So we use that as a lever also to consult certain corporates. So broadly, this is how we structure today. We do emerging tech for 3D printing, for teaching, and as well as for consulting. So that's broadly how we are today. So 3D printing on a global scale is a very tricky question because the Gartner hype cycle talked about something, but we really did not see that happen. But even today, there is a lot of hype, but it has not really crossed over to an application domain. So I think how I see 3D printing now is it is may be a disruptor in certain areas and not everything where it can replace conventional processes. No. But certain areas like construction, where affordable housing, relief, where there is a natural calamity, and then that's where building houses quickly could come into picture. Medicine is one area, and I think space technology is another area where 3D printers could play a role. Medicine and space. So it's going to be part and parcel. Not necessarily a complete new industry revolution is going to happen. I don't think so. Yeah, but it's got a lot of applications and future in very specific. People need to just look in a couple of steps inside. That's what we are trying to do. Right. So education is again the conventional education system is continuously being broken and questioned on a daily basis today, and we see a lot of employments today happening through what we call as hacks. Right? People just do hacks, and people pick up their team from a lot of competitions and stuff like that. So that's necessarily happening because there is no formal education structure for emerging technology, because by the time it becomes syllabus, it takes 10 years, 15 years. By then, something like a blockchain, something like AI is obsolete, or it's probably in the norm. So how we see it per se is how quickly can we introduce these technologies to students, and how do we allow them to create and innovate on top of that. So it's more of a blend of entrepreneurship as well as technology empowerment. So I think mostly education is going to go back to this conventional Gurukul system where there is no set agenda. You spend time with the teacher, and today the teacher is the internet, right? So you spend time, self-learn, and whatever you like, you have an ecosystem to support, right? So that's precisely how we also look at education, where if you are interested in something, how do you empower and enable you, right? Rather than we go and start feeding things. So that's why emerging tech, whatever is new, whatever is hot and happening, we want people to use it immediately. There are two questions here, right? One is if it's a hardware startup or if it is something to do with hardware, and the other thing is essentially how do you look at sustaining a business idea itself for a long time. So with respect to Li2 specifically, we started off as an education company, and today we are an education company, but we still support the ecosystem of our company through consulting and through because we gained a lot of expertise in these areas. From a long-term vision, it's very important to have the base agenda right, where our goal has very particularly been about how many people we can impact, rather than how much we can charge for the training programs or what training programs. So essentially, grabbing attention and also having that basic insight that a new technology that comes out is going to take some time to evolve, and then if we can be part of that evolution process. So every time we kind of try and ride the wave, wherever a new technology, be it EEG technology, be it 3D printing, be it AI, blockchain, or whatever that's coming up in the future, we try to use that as a magnet or as a thing for students as well as interested hackers and makers to come and work with us. So that's been the core strategy. But with products, it's not so easy. In products, it's more of a technology game. It's more of a game of where you really build a market. You have a differentiator. It's a different challenge altogether. There's a lot of cost involved. So with Brahma, our strategies are more changing towards where is high impact, not necessarily products, but solutions and ideas and stuff like that. So Brahma is essentially moving towards a legacy company in 3D printing where we have a lot of experience, and we want to share that with people and see how they can benefit from that. Yeah, so that's where we're moving towards. Yeah. So it works both ways, right? So you have rapid prototyping of an idea that you have, and you do rapid prototyping of a certain idea, and you get insights, and that's when your core basis of your business model or your product goes to happen. So essentially, rapid prototyping need not necessarily be using the 3D printer. It could just be something where you have an idea and you go out and say your idea is validated to yourself first, and to your team, and then to the outside world. So I think it's a very, very essential part of anything that you do, not only business, that you rapid prototype that, right? So if you want to be a sports person, you need to start somewhere, right? So that's the hack, right? Jumping into the pool probably is the first step. So that is a prototype, right, of your rudimentary form of swimming. Similarly in business, that's how we see it. Like when we started training programs, we were working with BCA students, and we were working with school children, we were working with engineering graduates, all mixed up, and we learned as we went. So our modules started to become better, more structured for them, specifically through understanding. So each workshop that we do, I see it as a prototype for us, and we evolve for the next one. So that's probably the structure. So actually speaking, I think that has started to happen, because there was a time when people said everything mass produced is China, and especially from VLSI perspective, from chip design perspective, as well as things like that. But where India comes into picture is more of building an entire ecosystem. Essentially, if you talk of a manufacturing hub like China, or we talk of Germany or something like that, where the cost is a factor, and leaving Europe aside, I'm saying China and India specifically, right? So China is more focused on skill, right? They have extreme talent in a certain set. But if you want to marry A to B, like for example, if you're talking of an IoT ecosystem, where embedded systems is involved, cloud is involved, where there is applications involved, and so a place like China is very difficult for you to go and have that ecosystem made for you. You can use it as a market, but when you talk of startups coming out and effectively democratizing this whole process, I think India is the place to be. Definitely. I mean, specifically in embedded systems, also there are these at a very rudimentary level. We have maker spaces and hack places where people can go, and even at a company level, corporate level, a lot of industries are looking at bringing the design houses into India because the talent is there, and the ecosystem is very apt for them to enter the market also. So I think this is the right time to be in this space. So for people who want to be entrepreneurs, I think it's important to understand, to put it in perspective, just to be very clear, where you ask that very important question that after 5 years, 10 years, or maybe on your deathbed, are you going to regret what you did, or are you going to be happy, right? So this is a very philosophical way of putting it. But if I have to bring it into a very practical perspective, don't do something because somebody else thinks it's cool, and essentially look at what problem you're trying to solve, right? Empathize with the situation rather than the outcome, right? I think most of us kind of jump into the thing like, okay, if I do this, 500 people are going to use it and I'm going to make money. Or maybe for a lot of young people, because we're doing TYE here, the young entrepreneurs, they essentially see the bling part of it, right? So they see, okay, I can be the next Bill Gates, I can be the next whoever, right? I mean, the next Elon Musk. But that is a 1 in a million, 1 in 1,000, or 1 in a 10,000 case. So if you don't become the next big billionaire, are you still going to be proud, right? Are you still going to be having not an iota of regret that you put in 6 months, 1 year, or 10 years, whatever? I think that's a good start. That's a good start. Thanks.